All right, y'all, I am finally getting around to doing my discussion for Handmaid's Tale, Season 5, Episode 6, Together. It's been a little bit, so my memory might not be all that fresh. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want more content, click subscribe. If you click that little bell and click all, then you'll get more content notifications. All right, so we start out the episode and we're dealing with these two fronts of captors. We've got June and Luke have been captured by this group. I'm going to call them Faux Gilead after seeing that in the comments section in one of the other reviews. And I think it's just so appropriate. Faux Gilead, like all the stuff we've been seeing. Let's think back when June and Luke were heading over from Mayday to No Man's Land. In the last episode, you see these people hanging there, and Luke's like, "Is this Gilead?" And June's like, "There's words. This isn't Gilead." And then on this episode, we see that they are in the back of the truck, and Luke asks again, "Is this Gilead?" And June's like, she just sniffs in the air, and she's like, "There's too many chemicals. They would think this is unhealthy. This isn't Gilead." So we have these two situations where it's definitely stuff that's reminiscent of Gilead. This is the kind of stuff Gilead does. But there's these certain telltale characteristics that June knows because she's been there, that this isn't Gilead. But Luke wouldn't necessarily know. And then we go over with Serena and her captors, the Wheelers. Now, in this case, we know who the Wheelers are, but the Wheelers also are engaging in all of this behavior that is Gilead-like. But there's little differences. We don't have the aquamarine colored clothing. We don't have all the same regulations and rules in place. The Martha is dressed up like a regular old maid, and many of the thoughts and ideas seem to be very similar to Gilead. So we're going to call all of this Faux Gilead. It works for me. And so we can make this assumption fairly early on. You've got Serena captured by some Faux Gilead element, and then you have June and Luke who are also captured by a Faux Gilead element. And we find out later on that they all seem to be the same thing. The group that's captured June and Luke have been hired by the Wheelers. How much power the Wheelers have, we don't really know, but it's not looking very good. Not for Serena and not for June and Luke. And outside of our little Faux Gilead no man's land area, we have a scene where Lydia approaches a doctor and they're talking about harvesting Esther's uterus. A uterus harvest. And I was like, what the hell is that? I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I have not looked into it because honestly, I'm just not ready for that. But it doesn't sound good to me at all. Luckily, except not luckily at all, Esther has regained consciousness, but Esther has been found to be pregnant. And while the doctor is all happy and excited about this, Lydia is not. Like, Lydia immediately goes through this cycle in her head where she has this revelation. All that stuff that Esther did, everything that they went through 3 weeks ago, when Esther poisoned herself and Janine, it all of a sudden starts making sense. And all of a sudden, she doesn't feel all angry at Esther anymore, because guess what? Esther had a fucking reason for being like she was. And it wasn't just the situation that she found herself in as a handmaid. Lydia had placed her with Warren And Warren definitely appeared to be taking advantage of the situation when he shouldn't have been. And outside of Warren and Esther, nobody knew what went on behind those closed doors after she had left Esther with Warren. And so she figures out she's pregnant. It was 3 weeks ago. I left her with Warren when I really didn't want to. And so Lydia, rather than looking all excited and happy like she usually is about anything having anything to do with babies, she looks outraged. You could see the revelation in her face and how awful she's starting to feel because she has no choice but to strongly assume that this pregnancy occurred during the situation with Putnam. And so she goes in to ask Esther and verifies that yes, indeed, Esther was raped by Putnam. She didn't do anything to coerce it. She was completely innocent and was freaking assaulted by this nasty, disgusting ass man outside any legal authority of Gilead. And I have to say that some of the way that she did it left a lot to be desired, but we know that Lydia has been a true believer. She is just slowly starting to see the real decrepit, horrific nature of the Gilead that she once truly believed in. And she has been brainwashed by Gilead for years, so it's going to take her a bit. That brainwashing isn't going to just go away, but she at least seems to be becoming more aware of it and really seeing more of what Gilead is doing and what she was doing to make Gilead continue to work the way it was just by her being blind to all its horrific evilness. I'd say that when Lydia started asking, "Are you sure you didn't lead him on in any way?" Like, that is like really awful victim blaming itself. I understand why she did it and that she felt she had to do it, and that this is the mindset that Lydia has had all along. It's going to take a bit for her to really start to address that stuff within herself. Also, though, after she found out that this really was a rape, she started saying, "That's awful, that's terrible." Like, the way she said it at first, I wasn't sure if she was angry at Putnam or she was angry at Esther. For a little bit there, I was really worried that this is her true nature popping out and that she is angry at Esther. But I do think after she continued on for a while that she really was angry about Putnam doing this to Esther. This stuff is uncomfortable. There is a reason why stuff like this is not well addressed by the TV and movie industry very often. And when it is, people have to pop off with just rude, disgusting remarks every time. But I am very glad when they do manage to cover stuff like this, when they manage to do it in a sensitive way. But I'm okay with this, knowing that this is Gilead, this is a fictional dystopia, and this is kind of how Lydia has been. She's going to take a little while for that brainwashing to soften in her. Of course, she goes to Lawrence because Lawrence is like her main man to get shit done anymore. I think she's working directly for Lawrence now too, so that's part of it. But she goes to him with this crime that has been committed against Esther. And he's like, "Yeah, and your point is, what sin do you think he's committing?" Because even though this is against Gilead law, Gilead looks the other way at all kinds of shit that commanders do. They also, though, tend to look away when it is not completely visible to everyone on the outside. This has no choice but to be visible to everybody. So even though Lawrence takes this tack like, there's nothing you're going to do about it, like, the commanders do shit like this all the time, like, do you really think that Gilead gives a crap? And Lydia is like, the ceremony is sacred and he did this outside the ceremony. It's so awful. And he's like, oh, is that how we're looking at the ceremony? Because I don't see anything sacred about it. But okay, you go on with your bad self, Lydia. Obviously, though, the way that Lawrence is reacting to this is very disturbing to Lydia. Lydia has always believed that this stuff was for religious purposes. This was about God and leading a godly life. And when she hears that none of this is serious, ceremony doesn't really mean anything, and that these laws of Gilead are just bypassed as long as people can look the other way, that makes her like really be like, what the actual hell? She's trying to change what she's done. She's trying to make a real difference. She starts to be a little bit more assertive with Lawrence, and Lawrence is like, you need to check yourself, Aunt Lydia. You forget yourself. You forget where you're at. You forget who you are. We may have provided you a little bit of faux power, but we can just as easily take that power away. When it really comes down to it, you do not have power. I think some of what Lawrence is doing is that this is kind of how Lawrence is. His idea of morality is really a bit twisted. But I also think that maybe Lawrence is actually trying to teach Lydia. By being this brash and acting this nonchalant about these horrific things, it can make it more obvious to Lydia that this is wrong, that this is a problem, but this has been going on all the time. And you have chosen to ignore it. I think also, though, initially that Lawrence didn't realize just how bad the blinders were that Lydia had on. Maybe he assumed that she understood this stuff wasn't really about God. Now he's realizing that she did think it was about God, so he's trying to give her these painful realizations that this is what is really going on. That all this time that you have looked the other way, that you have been blind to this stuff, it has been going on the entire time right in front of your face, and you have chosen to ignore it. Then we go back to June and Luke. They're in their little cages that the faux Gilead has put them in. And Luke is going stir crazy. He doesn't know what to do with himself. And he wants to act like he's all big and bad and tough. Just try to save face in front of June and to try to feel like he's doing something. But really, he's just showing how scared and nervous he is, and just showing that he doesn't know what the heck he's doing, and that he's never been in this situation, and that he is driving June crazy. That's the look she has. That look like you are not helping. She starts finally telling him, just stop. Just stop. Like, what you're doing isn't helping anything. Yes, I was in these situations before. Yes, they are fucking terrible. But I survived. I made it through. And you're not going to make it through by making a big stink out of it. You're not going to make it through by trying to be a tough ass. You got to calm down. You got to conserve your energy. You got to start using your brain. And you got to stop fighting against these people who have a heck of a lot more power than you do right now. We get back to Serena. She is seeing her doctor for an appointment, and she thinks that she's going to go to see the doctor. And the doctor's like, oh no, we can do it right here. And so he takes her up these like freaking 2,500 steps or whatever it is for her to get up to apparently an OBGYN room that they have created for her in the top of their freaking house. Whole thing was completely creepy. The gynecological exam, like, you're gonna have that as a pregnant person, but having to go into a freaking massively locked up room that they apparently have set up so that she can labor and deliver right there and have her kid, never have to freaking leave the house. And this gynecological doctor is like telling her about perennial massages while he's freaking checking things out down there. That was so fucking disgusting. And for a little bit there, I thought he might have actually trying to give her a perineal massage I don't think that's what he was doing, but either way, it was really freaking creepy and disgusting. Then he gets done. He doesn't leave the room while she's taking care of her private personal issues. And he sits there and asks her on a date. So creepy and disgusting. Of course, there were scenes with Warren and Lawrence and Nick where Warren is just bragging up the fact that he got this handmaid pregnant before she was even assigned to him. Like this was this great, wonderful thing, without it really cueing into him that when you do things that are not part of Gilead law, in a way that makes it obvious and apparent to everybody else in Gilead, you get in trouble. Like, that is why you are missing an arm, dude. Because you did something that plenty of other Gilead commanders do, but you made it blatantly obvious to everybody in Gilead that what you were doing was against the law and that you were doing it. So you got in trouble. And now you're doing it again. Like you didn't learn your fucking lesson the first time. He freaking took advantage of this young girl. Just that nasty, gross, creepy chocolate crap was sexual assault. But then he goes and fucking rapes her, gets her pregnant, and he's gonna sit there bragging about it in front of Gilead authorities. Like, what are you thinking, dude? So even though Lawrence did act all nonchalant and like it was no big deal about it in front of Lydia, this was also a way for him to take care of two problems. He can take care of this man who's abusing handmaids, which they really don't need right now, because that negative publicity, if it gets out to anybody, looks really bad to the international community he's trying to open up Gilead to. But also, this guy's trying to shut down his plans. So by utilizing the accusation of rape outside of the Gilead institutions of law, he can use that to take this guy out of the picture, and he won't be a problem for Lawrence anymore. Either way, Warren gets his ass in trouble. He digs himself a grave that he just can't freaking get out of. And Nick and Lawrence pull him right out of his little country club breakfast in front of everybody. Tell him that he was accused of apostate and found guilty overnight. And Nick pulls out the gun, and as Putnam's trying to make his ridiculous excuses they shouldn't kill him, Nick just pulls the trigger like it's nothing and shoots him right in the head in front of everybody. It was great stuff. I have no problem whatsoever with what Nick did. I have no problem whatsoever with what Lawrence did. And I have no problem whatsoever with that disgusting ass man getting his fucking head blown off. It was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful. Of course, later on, we see Nick with Rose, and she is not so happy. And he's trying to talk to her and ask her if she's okay, and she's like, of course I'm not okay. Of course she didn't see it, but she knew about it. She's just like, this just makes me wonder what kind of man you really are. And he's like, what kind of man I really am? Like the kind of man who's just trying to make the world safer for our kids. And then they show that hand on her belly and looking at her belly, so she's apparently pregnant. I had seen in the episode where Serena does Fred's funeral, when he made the comment to Serena that they had both been blessed. And when he first said it, my mind immediately went there. Like, oh, did he get that wife that we don't know about yet pregnant? But then I automatically thought, oh no, he's probably talking about their kid that they had with June. Not realizing that, no, my first instinct was actually right on target. So we'll leave Rose to contemplate whether Nick is good enough or whatever. I find it odd that she sees this as too awful. You got to know that Nick has been involved in a lot of killing a lot of people for lesser reasons. And she did make the comment, well, are you sure you're doing it because of that and not because of something else or someone else? But then that makes me wonder, like, what does she mean by that? It doesn't feel like this has a lot to do with the other stuff that she knows about Nick that maybe would be off-putting when it comes to Gilead and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe she takes issue with some of the Lawrence stuff. We go back to Serena, and Serena starts talking to Mrs. Wheeler about her proposal from her gyno doctor. Alanis is like all happy and excited. Oh my God, he's such a catch. He's so wonderful. And Serena's like, I don't think I really want to be hooking up with my gynecological doctor. Like, doesn't that seem a little gross to you? Then she makes the comment that maybe I just won't marry anybody. And she's like, you can't be a single mother. And Serena says, I'm not a single mother, I'm a widow. And I'm like, that's still a single mother, but okay, you go on about yourself. And Alanis goes on about, oh, the baby needs the mother and father. That is more important than your feelings. And I was just like, I mean, as soon as Serena said maybe she won't get married, I was like, what the hell are you thinking? You know by this point that these people ain't right. And you've got to have a good, strong assumption that maybe they are trying to keep you as their little faux handmaid. But then again, maybe Serena was testing the waters to see just how bad it was or something. And she got to see just how bad it was. And I know that Serena's only been dealing with this for a little while, and she's only getting like just the barely smallest fraction of the kind of shit that she handed out to June and that other handmaids deal with. But it's enough for her to see that she has been captured, that she is a prisoner, and that it does look like they might be thinking they're going to take her baby. That comment for Serena to go to her room. Call from 727-910-9379. That hits Serena right where she doesn't like to be hit. Where she's being disrespected, subordinated, put down in a lower place below somebody else. Serena does not like that. She likes to feel like she is the center of attention and the center of authority at all times. And in this situation, she doesn't get to be the center of attention other than bad attention. And now it's somebody else taking authority over her and disrespecting her. She has no problem disrespecting other people. But when they do it to her, then she starts to notice and feel like just how freaking bad it is. But only because it's happening to her. And do I feel bad for her? No, not about the disrespect stuff. She needs that kind of shit. She needs to be knocked down a few pegs, and she needs to see how much of a credence she's been all along. The issue that I have is that no matter how evil and horrible Serena is, the idea that she is being imprisoned in this house, all of it, like all that crap that was going on in Gilead was wrong, and it's wrong no matter who it's happening to. Even Serena. Even an evil, thoughtless narcissist like Serena, it's wrong either way. This kind of taking people's autonomy away, it's wrong no matter who it's done to. It's so horrible. Either way, Serena knows now. She goes up to her room and she starts crying because she's getting to feel a little bit of a tinge of the helplessness that others in much worse situations have felt before. And so Mr. Wheeler invites her so he can give her some information, which also provides an opportunity that she sees to find a way out of this prison that she's found herself in. Tells her that they have captured June, that they are sure it's June, they've officially verified it, and that they're going to kill her, and that he doesn't trust that Gilead will do the job because Gilead's never managed to get the job done before. Thinks that he's going to be able to get the job done himself because totally this is how some people are. They think that other people weren't able to do the job. They surely will do a much better job themselves. And so Serena suggests that she needs to be part of this, that she needs to see it. She needs to see it through to the end so that she can make sure that she sees the person that killed her husband put to death. At first he disagrees that she's not in a condition to be doing something like that. Serena is like that. Serena can manipulate just about anybody into doing just about anything. He's no different or better. She does convince him to let her go, and that enables her to start plotting her great escape. I don't think that she had it all figured out right from that meeting. I think she was doing a little bit of figuring it out as she went along, but I am 100% sure that at that meeting she knew she would use this as a way for her to get out. I did not think she was going to try to help June escape. I wasn't sure June would escape then and there, but I knew she would escape. But I didn't really think that Serena was going to help her do it. Yeah, it's because Serena needs June at that moment. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I thought some kind of confrontation was going to ensue and somehow June would escape and get away. I thought that Serena might try to convince Ezra, or that she might try to give Ezra the slip and somehow get out of there. But I did not think she was going to try to use June in order for her to escape and have June escape in the process. I just didn't think that was going to happen. I did notice that Serena looked like she may have been going into labor as soon as they got in the car, which will put her in a position of being more desperate. So the idea of letting somebody like June escape in order for her to get out of there, in order for her to get this baby delivered when she knows that June has been through much more dangerous delivery situation herself, that she might feel desperate enough to go ahead and do that. Even with her in the car looking like she might have been going into labor, it didn't occur to me that she was going to help June escape. But I was hoping. When Ezra goes to take June off the bus, so I knew he was going to take her off the bus, and I knew he was going to remove the cuffs. Because of the promo that was done where it looked like he had taken her off the bus and walked away and left her there, which that's not really what happened, but that's what it looked like to me. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. I knew I had seen her on the promo on all fours without the zip cuffs on. When Serena asked Ezra for the gun, insinuating that she should do it herself, I still felt like Serena wanted to do it, and I knew she wasn't going to do it because there's no way June can die in episode 6. It's just not going to freaking happen. I don't think June's going to die at all in this entire series or the next one, but if for some reason she did, episode 6 just wouldn't be the time. It wouldn't make any sense. So she takes the gun from him. I felt at the time like something has to happen for June to get out. Maybe she's going to get distracted. Maybe her labor pains are going to be bad enough. Maybe whatever. I don't know. Something's going to happen. June's going to get away. But I still felt like Serena still wanted to hurt June. When her excuse to Ezra was that June killed her husband and cursed her child, I was like, that sounds like a made-up excuse. And maybe she does have some kind of plan. And so then my mind is thinking, this is definitely part of Serena's plan to get out of there. And I'm like hoping she turns the gun on him. But I'm like, it's still freaking evil Serena. So is she really? I don't know. I'm hoping so, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And then she tells June to pray. And to me, that's just typical Serena. Serena wants June to grovel. Serena likes that feeling of authority and a feeling of power and a feeling of putting other people down. And she wants to see June grovel because June is one of those few people that I think Serena actually has a little bit of respect for. And so to see that somebody that maybe she looks up to a little bit in some kind of ways, groveling and begging, I think that's what she was looking for. And when June starts praying for the future of their children instead, June's just hitting all those right places. Because as much as Serena knows how to manipulate people, June knows how to manipulate people too. And June definitely knows how to reach Serena in the one place that Serena actually seems to give a shit about at all. And that's her future children, Serena's future children. Okay? June's children too, because June's so interlocked in her life at this point, but mostly it's about Serena's children in the future. She prays for that. And June's always been about her children too. So it's not surprising she would pray about that either. But I also think she is trying to reach Serena in the one place that she can reach Serena, which is the future of their children. And it works. And one of the main reasons that I do not feel this was part of Serena's plan all along and that June knew that she was going to need her help or whatever is that reaction that June had after Serena turns the gun on Ezra and hits Ezra. And June just keeps going, "What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing, Serena?" And Serena's like, "Get in the car, drive." And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing, Serena?" Like that was a reaction of surprise and not understanding what the hell is going on. Serena is obviously desperate and you can see it in her face how desperate she is. But to me, it looked more like Serena is going into labor. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what she's gonna do, but she knows that June ain't gonna let that baby freaking die, even if she did curse her child. She knows that June has been through labor by herself, a very tough labor, has had a baby all by herself. She knows that June has an appreciation for children, and she knows that she needs to save herself and her unborn child, and she sees June as the way to do that. I think before then, maybe Serena thought really that she thought she'd kill June and then turn the gun on Ezra. Maybe she thought she'd convince Ezra. But either way, she did what she did. I don't think it was completely planned out. I was very, very excited and happy to see what happened. I don't think that June and Serena will ever be friends. I think Serena burned that bridge back in DC. But I think even though she burned that bridge, that the situation has shifted and changed dramatically enough, and she is desperate enough that they are going to be willing to work together. I think they will have to work through some shit, and the show is not going to do near enough work to actually show them really work that shit out. But I think they're going to have to work through some shit, and then they will work together. I just hope they'll work together on the things that I want them to work together on, which is taking down the Wheelers and their whole friggin' thing, funneling people back into Gilead. I want them to take those fucking idiots down and to try to get Hannah out of there. That's my thought. That's my hope. I just don't know if they can work together enough to do it all and get it all done, because there is a lot of freaking animosity and hatred. There's a lot of really bad blood there. Sometimes even people that you work well with, it's freaking hard as hell to even put up with them for a minute. You know they've been evil, horrible, oppressive pieces of shit to you. Here's to the next episode. We get to see what happens when Serena probably has to go in labor in a barn and June is out there with her. I know they showed June running from the barn, I'm assuming to get some kind of help or find some kind of resources or something. But I know that the title of the episode is No Man's Land, and I know that in the promo they showed them in this barn. They showed them trying to hash shit out together, and Serena acting semi-sorry like she's done before. But outside of that, I suspect we'll probably have a baby at the end of that episode. It may or may not be born in a barn. Oh my god, that freaking line. Were you born in a barn? Might have a baby born in a barn. I am excited. I am patiently waiting. The episode is out, but I don't have access to it. Internet is down and we can't turn that stuff on right now, so I can't even look at it. I'm recording this on a phone, so I don't need internet to do it. But until then, I'll be working on trying to edit this and get it all ready, and hopefully the internet will get back on and I can load this up and get it out to y'all. Until next time, I'll see you when I see you. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you want more content, click subscribe. If you click that little bell and click all, then you'll get more content notifications.